So yesterday, I called one of my clients. We were texting beforehand. I wanted to make sure that he was going to be available because it's been about 3 weeks since we've actually been able to connect with each other. And he was kind of he's been dealing with something, and I knew it. Like he's just kind of fallen off, and his text at some point, I got to the point where I was like what? You sound like a wounded dog. I'm pretty sure I might have said that. And he's like, yeah, yeah, I'm struggling. And so after trying to possibly just email me instead of getting on the phone with me, I told him no, like we're talking. And so I got him on the phone. And I kind of brought up the topic of like what's going on. It doesn't sound like you're being yourself. You kind of seem down, and he's like, yeah, I just don't know what I'm doing with my life. Like I'm having a midlife crisis, and I'm not. I feel like when I die, there's not going to be anything on my tombstone. Like people are gonna look at it and like they're not gonna think I did anything with my life. And I think we all, experience that feeling at some point along our path, like almost once a year at least. I feel like we all kind of reevaluate where we are. There are some years where we're like, yeah, like we're on the right path. And then sometimes, we have definitely all been there, even if we're just going into college, not knowing any anything about what we want to do when we grow up. And then you graduate with this degree, and you can't probably get a job in your major, and so life is full of decisions and choices and uncertainties, and so I think that's kind of where he was, and so we kind of touched on just being depressed, and I told him, you know, it's okay sometimes to sit in your shit, but what's not okay is not getting up from it. So there are times where I'm upset about something, and I feel like, we are all there at some point. We're mad, we're sad, whatever the emotion might be. And my master's in counseling, so, and I'm an introvert, so throw that all together, and I literally have in-depth conversations with myself. And there are times where I'm like, I know I could choose a better emotion than the one I'm experiencing right now, but I don't want to. I want to be mad, or I want to be upset, or whatever the emotion is that I'm experiencing. Because it's okay. It's normal to feel an emotion, and I think it's normal to want to experience it. The problem is like we gotta let go at some point. In being a swimmer in college, my college coach used to always say that win or lose, you have 24 hours to dwell on the outcome of the meet or your performance. Which we were more individual athletes, but it's such a kind of, it's a statement that could be applied anywhere in life. And so no matter what you're feeling, I know a lot of the time I might be upset with somebody and know that I'll feel okay the next day. So even though I'm mad at somebody, it doesn't mean I'm going to be mad at them the next morning. Most likely I'll sleep it off. I'll calm down. If there was any irrational aspects of my anger, they disappeared, and I'm okay. So what we tend to do though is not let that happen, not let go. And when we don't let go, we're just keeping it inside ourselves. And so we don't allow ourselves to open up to other options like being happy. And so we talked about his tombstone. I talked about, well, what do you want to be remembered for? And he's like, that's the problem. I don't know. I'm like, okay, well, do you have a bucket list? Like, is there anything, like, what are some things that you want to accomplish before you die? And he's like, well, I don't have a bucket list. Like, is it sad that I literally don't have anything that I want to do? And I thought to myself, well, I guess I don't really have one outlined myself. I know, like, I want to do some things, like, I want to go to Europe, but I also, upon further reflection, don't need to go there in order to feel happy or happier, to feel okay passing on to the next life. That is not going to make or break my situation. So regardless, like, I think bucket list items are awesome. They make you have great memories and experiences. You can experience a higher happiness sensation, but I feel like we all know happiness comes and goes. Obviously, happiness was like on a line. If this is like your, you know, average happiness, to go above it are those experiences that make you happier, like parties or events or whatever you're into, hiking or skydiving. And then what comes below that are the bad experiences, like heartbreak or losing a loved one, all that kind of stuff. So obviously that pulls from your sadness, but your even keel that you come back to every time after an experience is a result of a lot of other things. It's not a result of going to Italy. All right. And so we talked about choice theory, which I might have mentioned before. But choice theory, it was my favorite theory out of counseling. It kind of aligns well with my personality. But basically, it doesn't dwell on the event itself or the past. What it dwells on is what actions are you going to take to get yourself out of it. So usually people are experiencing symptoms, headaches, or anxiety, or depression, or anger because of something, whether it's a bad relationship that they're in, that they just maybe need to have some communication with it, or maybe it's they're working a job that they absolutely hate, but they don't know how to get out of. There's tons of reasons why you might be having anxiety. And instead of focusing on the anxiety, the focus should be on, okay, so this is your symptom, but what's the problem? The problem is you're doing something that doesn't make you happy. So, or it's not in line with who you truly are or want to be. So the process would be, okay, what action steps can we take to get ourselves out of here so that way we can be on the path that we want to be on? And so I recommended that book to him because I think that would be helpful. And then happiness in general, I think, comes a lot from action. So I told him, I gave him a couple homework assignments, but happiness there's room for happiness when you're taking a step forward. So you're picking yourself up out of the shit that you were sitting in, and now you're taking the proper steps to move in a direction. Action yields or produces happiness to an extent. So happiness is an accumulation of choices we make. I think we put ourselves in a place to be happy, whether that's in solid, good relationships with others, that's having good communication, that having good friends, which would fall into relationships as well, and then obviously living a healthy lifestyle. So taking care of yourself. There's nothing more better for you as a human than eating healthy and working out. And it's amazing getting people who aren't necessarily in that lifestyle currently into the lifestyle of eating healthy and how awesome they feel not even 2 weeks in. And so that says a lot. That definitely that first step on getting your life back on track, getting closer to happiness, is taking care of yourself as well. And then we also have to take time to probably pick ourselves, or at least our eyes, off of our phone and be able to look around us and see what is out there that can yield some just minor pleasures in our life. Every time I go to work out in the morning at like 5 something, it's only twice a week, but I always look up at the stars, and this morning they were awesome, but it's such a little thing. And this morning I am pulling my bag out, I'm looking up, and I'm thinking, I wonder how many people do this when they get here, because why wouldn't you? it's such like a quick little thing to do and to get pleasure from, is being able to observe nature and its awesomeness. So, and it's not that I'm like, oh my god, I'm so happy now, but it's just a small thing that you can take pleasure in, the beauty of nature. And so take time to pick your head up and like look for things like that. And I think the people who can find humor or can find pleasure in the minute details of life are the people that are the most happy. And then also, you got to realize that you don't have control over everything. And I think a lot of stress comes from people who try to control everything in their lives. And coming from someone that's more of a type B, that's really hard to say to someone who's a type A who likes to control every aspect of their life. But it is important that the amount of stress that you experience from trying to control everything obviously does have to pull from your happiness a little bit. And what I've also told my client was, I've learned to go with the flow with a lot of things and try to be a little bit more patient, unless I'm driving. Like things that aren't in my control or job changes or anything like that. I've always tried to wrap my mind around the fact that things happen for a reason. Like, this is God's way of telling me that I'm not on the right path and He's pushing me in the right direction. So whatever you believe in, it's kind of it's definitely reassuring, and it's definitely calming to take a breath and realize that I don't have control over this situation, but I have control over how I'm going to approach that next step and how I am going to feel about it and choose to feel about it in the coming weeks or so. So that's my little tidbit. We literally had like a 50-minute conversation yesterday, making up for our lost calls. But so if you guys have any questions regarding happiness, or you need some homework, I definitely can give you some. I have like tons of books around here, and I have a lot of books that I have enjoyed that I would recommend if you have a specific thing that you want to focus on. All right, have a good day.